And so it's time to preview a little bit of what is Super Bowl 59. And normally, I think I would have this conversation maybe next week, right? But I felt like it was appropriate to talk about this today, given the fact that I'll be going to New Orleans next week. I'll be on Radio Row. I'll get some really good footage of things. It'll be a ton of fun. But it got me thinking, because next week we'll get a bunch of new storylines of things to kind of talk about. But if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, you don't necessarily have a rooting interest in this Super Bowl. I mean, you don't. You don't have an affinity for Patrick Mahomes. Maybe you like watching him play, and I get that. Patrick Mahomes is awesome to watch. He is mesmerizing. But the Kansas City Chiefs, definitely not as fun as they used to be at this point in their dynasty. But here's why, if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, that you should root for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it all goes back to the quarterback position. Jalen Hurts is not an elite quarterback in the NFL. Eagles fans like to tell you he's a top 8 guy in the NFL. No, there's 8 other quarterbacks I'd rather have over Jalen Hurts. But one thing that has been true over the course of years, almost a decade at this point, is if you don't have an elite level top 5 quarterback in the NFL, you're probably not winning a Super Bowl. It's been a lot of Tom Brady's and Patrick Mahomes's and Matthew Stafford's of the world that win Super Bowls. And if that trend continues, what we know about Kyler Murray is that he's not a top 10 guy consistently. He's not a top 5 guy consistently. He's not a top 8 guy consistently. And if you ask the quarterback to carry you, if you're the Arizona Cardinals, you'll be sadly mistaken. So one of the reasons why you should absolutely be rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles is if the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs win another Super Bowl, you are then left scratching your head. Because then you say to yourself, even if we stack the roster like Jalen Hurts has done, and make no mistake about it, I think Kyler Murray is just as good as Jalen Hurts. I know people aren't going to like that comp or aren't going to like the fact that I just said that, but I think it's true. I do believe Kyler Murray is just as good, if not better than Jalen Hurts. I think he's clearly faster. I think he's more accurate, better deep ball. Jalen Hurts is a little bit more buttoned up. But I think if you swapped out Jalen Hurts and put him on the Cardinals and Kyler Murray on the Philadelphia Eagles, I actually think Kyler would succeed better and Jalen Hurts would succeed worse than Kyler did with the Cardinals and that Jalen did with the Eagles. But it's all for nothing if at the end of the day you watch the Eagles with a stacked deck, Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley. It doesn't matter what it is. You put all those guys on a stacked roster, and you put a player that I believe is in the same playing field as that being one Kyler Murray, and then he still loses? Feels like a bad feeling to have to actually stomach. That feels like something, it just makes it way too hard to grasp and win a Super Bowl. Because what we've seen over the past decade is you can make it to the Super Bowl. The thing is, you got to have a stacked deck. I was right about Brock Purdy. Not me going after the guy personally, but I think what I was right about is Brock Purdy's good, he's not great. I think Kyler Murray is good, he's not great. I think Jalen Hurts is good, he's not great. And we've seen that you can get to the Super Bowl with a good quarterback. Rex Grossman did years ago. Peyton Manning did years ago when he was shot. Jalen Hurts has done it now again. Brock Purdy at this point has done it again. Jimmy Garoppolo has made it to the Super Bowl. That whole Niners team, Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, both made it to the Super Bowl. But they get there and they never win. And if that trend continues, then you're not even ever thinking about a Super Bowl championship for a team like the Arizona Cardinals. Because it's just not feasible with a quarterback like Kyler Murray. Now, you can stack the deck and you can put everyone around Kyler. But if the trend continues that it doesn't matter what you put around a good quarterback, they will still come up short when it matters the most, that's deflating to know if you're a Cardinals fan. The one thing about the NFL that makes it king is everyone feels like your team has a chance, especially during draft night. It's what makes draft night the best night almost in all of sports, or one of the better nights in all of sports, because you show up that night and it's all fun games. You just assume your team has a chance to win the Super Bowl. So, if that happens, where you know it doesn't matter if you stack the deck, you threw everyone together with Kyler. Let's just say you go get T. Higgins. You go get Josh Sweat. You get Abdul Carter in the draft. All the best case scenarios. But Jalen Hurts still loses in the Super Bowl with his stacked deck. You think to yourself, because Kyler Murray's in the same tier level of Jalen Hurts, both good, not great quarterbacks, you say to yourself, well, if Jalen Hurts with a stacked deck and Brock Purdy with a stacked deck, who I believe are both the same level of quarterback in Kyler Murray, not the same kind of quarterback, but the same level of quarterback, you say to yourself, the Cardinals have no shot to win a Super Bowl. So, if you're looking for a rooting interest in the Super Bowl, and you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, and you're trying to figure out why this weekend matters to you at all, I think it's very clear. You're watching your team, and you're seeing them trying to build a stacked roster around Kyler. And you look and see what the Eagles have already done, and the San Francisco 49ers have already done, getting to the Super Bowl very recently with good, not great quarterbacks, but neither of them have won the Super Bowl. It just goes to show you and goes to tell you that you feel deflated before the season even began. Because you know you're going to run into a Burrow, an Allen, a Lamar, a Patrick, and it just doesn't matter at the end of the day. So those are your first Super Bowl storyline if you're a Cardinals fan and you're looking for a rooting interest. And I think it's an interesting one. I was very proud of myself for coming up with that idea last night.